Welcome to the Vibrant Health Podcast with your hosts, Lydia Shatney and Jessica Espinoza. Lydia is a nutritional therapist and founder of Divine Health from the Inside Out. Jessica is a real food wellness educator and founder of the website, DeliciousObsessions.com. Since this is a health-related podcast, it should be noted that the hosts are not licensed medical professionals. The information and advice provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, or prescribe for any illness or health issue and should not be construed as medical advice. And now, here are the hosts of Vibrant Health Podcast, Lydia Shatney and Jessica Espinoza.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode number 14 of the Vibrant Health Podcast. I am Jessica from DeliciousObsessions.com, and I'm here with my co-host, Lydia of Divine Health from the InsideOut.com. And today we're going to be talking about preparing for your health journey. I think this is something that people don't really give much thought to, but it's definitely worth looking at. As Lydia has always told me, she's told me this many, many times, health is not a destination, it's a journey. And getting your head in the right place before you embark on a new protocol or a health plan or whatever it may be can really make a lot of difference in how you handle the journey, how you manage your stress, and how you deal with potential setbacks. Something that I have personally struggled with, I'm finding for myself personally that things like, eating correctly and taking my supplements and, managing my stress better and doing all of these things that I need to be doing every day, that is all relatively easy. But it's kind of my mindset is one thing that trips me up over and over again. So I am finding that mindset is really a huge key to making sure you're successful on your healing journey and allowing yourself to be patient, give yourself grace. Things are not always going to go perfectly. It may not always be easy, but we just have to be kind to ourselves when we embark on something like this and have patience and be, committed to doing it, but also understanding that we have to be gentle with ourselves too. So Lydia, you want to hop on here and say hello?
Hello. Yeah, we have a kind of a heavy topic to get into today, but it's worth going there because so many people are not feeling well. They're not healthy today. They're struggling to some degree and making strides or efforts forward. At least a lot of the people, that we, Jessica and I both are hearing from, our readers, my clients. And it's a challenge to feel empowered to continue. There are times when, I hear people say, I just want to live my life. I don't want to keep doing this. Why do I have to worry about everything I eat? And, the frustration of, being where we're at, unfortunately, as a human race. Let's just be frank here.
I know, it's a sad state.
We kind of have to take a step back for a second and realize, as a human race, especially if you live in the United States of America, we'll just focus on that because we're both from here, the food quality has been poor for a very long time. If you go back to 1936 or so, there was a Senate document where they discussed the depletion of the minerals in the soil. That's almost 100 years ago, and they haven't done anything to remedy that. It's only gotten worse and worse and worse. In the 80s, we had the wonderful advent of high fructose corn syrup, and then we've got things coming at us left and right. I'm not even going to go there, but if you've, delved into learning about health, I'm sure there are many things that are combating our health these days. So it can, once you figure all that part out, then you get going on your mission to start to get healthy, you may find yourself struggling to keep going.
Okay, so now that we've kind of taken a look at, where we are as a society and as a culture and kind of the difference between, your alternative world and your allopathic world, there are like 3 takeaway points that we want to talk about with you guys. For those of you that are planning on, embarking on a healing journey, and people may look at you funny when you say, oh, I'm on a healing journey, but that's truly what it is. We really, as a world, are quite sick as a whole. And so we really do need to spend some time working towards healing our bodies. So, if you're ready to embark on a healing journey, the first thing we want to communicate to you is to realize that there's no quick fixes. Despite what we see in the media, we see commercials on the TV and in magazines about, pop this pill and this whatever your ailment is going to be fixed. But when you're healing your body from the inside out, there's not going to be any quick fixes. You may respond really well. You may see some improvements pretty quickly. Some people do, some people don't. But just realize that there's not going to be any quick fixes. And I'm sure, Lydia, you dealing with clients, I'm sure that you have to deal with this kind of thought process a lot with your clients.
Yeah, there's definitely no quick fixes. And I think we do get it in our head in part to the media, thanks in part to the current allopathic models we just discussed. Even if you're looking at a health magazine, for example, you'll see a lot of products in the magazine, and they're making all these claims. A lot of people are taking the latest thing, whatever it is. They're, I'm taking turmeric, and, I'm eating goji berries, and, this and that. And it's like, okay, well, that's all well and good, but, is that really going to deepen your health? So I feel like there's a lot of striving in light of that. People are like just grabbing whatever they can because they hear it fixes this or helps this or helps that. Mm-hmm. And, in some regards it may, I'm not against taking turmeric. I'm not trying to, say that it's bad. It's just, I'll have clients come to me and they'll be like showing me this list of supplements they're taking, and they'll tell me why they're taking it. And they're just taking all this random stuff because, I heard it's good for this. I heard it's good for that. Well, I assume because, I think I maybe have like pylorrhea, I need to take a lot of zinc or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And we still have this mindset. We have this mindset of placating symptoms as well as these quick fixes, like, the latest diet fad or whatever. It's going to get you healthy because so-and-so, they created this diet and that's what healed them. So I'm going to go do it and I'm going to heal myself too. And then, people aren't getting better and they're frustrated and they're wondering why. So I feel like we have to step back for 1 second and say, well, am I going into healing myself with some mindset that's going to only frustrate me?
Very
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So I'd rather say, well, it's your health is going to, come to you in layers if you're someone who's decided, you know what, I just want to keep doing everything I can to stay and get healthier. And if that's where you're at, just know, that it's going to take time because you're going to see things improve, but then you're going to see other things maybe shift and come up. And you're going to wonder, well, what the heck? Why is all of a sudden my hair turning white? Or, why am I like gaining weight here? Or why do I get headaches now? Or whatever. When you start to really go deep and heal the body, it can shift. It's not this linear process. There's no diet that the whole world can go do for 30 days and all of a sudden, yay, I'm healed. And right. I know intellectually that people really do know that. It's just psychologically, we wish it weren't true. Mm-hmm. And so we listen to these mindsets that we hear all the time, and they're pervasive. Everywhere you turn, someone's promising you some great thing by eating a goji berry or taking this pill or the newest supplement on the market or whatever. So it really is something we have to constantly remind ourselves of until we get it so deeply at the core that, we're not tripped up by it all the time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that actually is the perfect segue into our second point, for us to be able to be patient with ourselves and recognize that healing does come in layers, like you mentioned. Like we may see an improvement in an area, but some other new stuff may pop up. And that can be really frustrating. Like I've had, that kind of stuff happens with me too. Like one thing I'll kind of get regulated, so to speak, and then something else may creep up that I hadn't even been thinking about. So that can be really frustrating for people. I think you've said this in our podcast before, that the path to healing is not linear. So it's going to be all over the place. You may be jogging left and then right and then up and then down.
For
so
sure.
you have to be able to be patient with yourself. And that is an area that I personally really struggle with. I am hard on myself by nature. I am a type A personality, perfectionist. Things need to be done the right way the first time. And so the patience aspect is something that I have really struggled with. And I know a lot of you guys are struggling with it too. So just be patient and recognize that the healing is the process. And as you peel back a layer, you may be surprised with something that comes up underneath that.
Right. So, to add to that, I guess, I think a lot of people, this is another layer of these mentalities, is that you put forth effort, you should get X result.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe you've gotten through, I understand the allopathic model isn't the greatest. I understand there's no quick fixes. I get it. I have to just keep taking care of myself, self-care. I have to get rest, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm willing to commit. But 3 months down the road, all of a sudden you're like, why am I not feeling awesome all the time? And, and then I get the people who are like, well, I eat so healthy, and how come I still have this problem and that problem? And it's so hard, because I think some people do look at it in terms of their actions, and they think that they're doing so great, which I'm not saying that they aren't. It's just, I wish that was all it was. You performed well enough, here you go. You get an A with your health, it's all good. No, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, because of the way, the body has to uproot so much more than you will ever realize. And you can't understand. I don't even understand everything about our health. It's so ridiculously complicated. So one thing I think people need to give themselves grace on is, there is no perfect diet. There is never going to be a perfect day where you do everything that you think you're supposed to do for your health perfectly. And so it's really all about taking steps forward and moving toward health, and always just, keep, I guess kind of refining the process. Sometimes you'll take a couple steps back, because life gets busy. It just does. Stress comes in many forms. We live in the toxic environment, so we have to know that our efforts are worth it, because it's much better to be struggling forward to some degree than to just like, screw it. I'm just going to eat McDonald's, and I'm going to party all night. I'm going to do whatever I want, because, I'm going to die eventually. And that mindset is ridiculous. Come on, let's admit it. That's ridiculous. It's just ignoring your own personal responsibility to care for your body. I mean, you can certainly make that choice, and people do all the time, but don't come complaining to the people that are trying when you feel like total garbage when you're only 50 years old and you're falling apart. So not to be judgmental there. It is a common mentality that I wish it wasn't, but the truth is people don't want to work hard to stay healthy. They think that they should just have it automatically, and we're just not in a world that's going to be possible. So you don't have to be perfect. You won't have a perfect path of healing. It's going to be messy, and that's okay. You can look back every 6 months or so and say, you know what? I forgot. I don't have that rash on my hand anymore. Oh, wait a minute, I used to like freak out and get really anxious when I had to take a test or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
You may not remember because you're so enveloped in the doing and trying to progress that you forget the progress you've already had. And I see that happen all the time with people, and I just want to remind you to never forget how far you have come, even if it doesn't seem fast enough for you.
Absolutely, and I actually have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel that discuss this. I have one on just grace while healing, essentially. Like it was, I think I shot it at a time when I was kind of feeling down about myself, and then I have another one about tracking your progress. I am a very reward-driven person. Like if I put in this amount of effort, I expect some kind of return on that investment, essentially. Always looking at the ROI. So for me, I kind of figured out a way that I could track my progress and give me kind of that reward system without completely overwhelming myself and making myself feel like I wasn't good enough or I wasn't doing things good enough. So I'll definitely leave some links to that. And that's actually another perfect tie-in to our third point, and the last thing that we want you to think about with your healing journey is to realize that it's a commitment. You guys don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Like Lydia said, there's no perfect diet. There's nothing that you're going to do is going to be perfect, and you should not strive to be perfect because that's just going to create more stress than you need. It is a commitment when you do something like this. If you embark on some sort of new protocol or a health plan or whatever it may be, you are making a commitment, but you are so worth it. You have the option of addressing your issues now when you can, when you're, quote unquote healthy enough to address them, or waiting until a lot later in life when things may be more catastrophic. I mean, you may end up with something life-threatening. You may be to a point where you don't have the ability to heal as quickly or as easily, potentially. What does it say? Prevention is the best medicine, essentially. So that's what we should kind of focus on now. So it's hard, I think, for people. Like you said, a lot of people don't, want to put in the work, or they may feel like health should come easy, or if they do X, Y, and Z, then everything's going to be fine. So, just realize that you do have to commit to it, but you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything perfectly. It's just going to be a journey, but it's totally worth it.
It definitely is. I mean, like you said, every individual is worth self-care. And unfortunately, the modern day American, let's go with Americans, I mean, it could be pervasive across the world too, but currently we don't value ourselves. I'm saying that looking at the broad population, I mean, we think we maybe do by going out partying and, I'm going to drink beer and, I'm going to buy myself a giant TV and, I'm going to go on this, awesome vacation. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that kind of thing in general, but when you look at healing, a lot of people they just don't value themselves enough to take the effort. So, like, for example, let me just say this. One of the things that I tell people all the time is they really need to get to bed earlier, get better sleep. You don't have to be perfect with this, but you need to try to remember bedtime. It's important. And a lot of Americans stay up. They burn the midnight oil. They go out late. I did this for years when I was young. I just didn't even care. I was like, I'm going to do whatever. And back then, it didn't affect me as much as it would now. And I took it for granted. So we can all relate to that as adults because we probably all to some degree did that, right? We did our share of partying or whatever. And here we are and we're like, I can't do that anymore. Well, guess what? If you look at it in that light, you're not going to be able to afford to eat the junk food all the time or drink 5 beers at a party or skip meals, or, simple things like that. One day it's going to turn around and bite you in the butt so much that you're like, whoa, I don't understand what's going on here. This has never happened to me before. Mm-hmm. And that's what I hear a lot, is people wondering, like, well, wait a second, why do all of a sudden I have all these health problems? And it's like, okay, well, hey, maybe, some life changes could have really helped, and maybe you need to look at that. And it's not just, oh, I have to eat some perfect diet and I feel deprived. It's like, well, no, you're not depriving yourself. You're giving to yourself. You're providing for yourself. You're taking care of yourself. You're loving yourself. And I don't understand why people think eating healthy is deprivation. I mean, I eat some pretty darn good food, better than McDonald's, and it's delicious. Yep. And I feel awesome. Like, well, how is that deprivation? Please explain that to me. But we have this mindset. It's literally a knee-jerk reaction that people automatically assume, well, being healthy sucks. It's too hard. It's not fun. I have to eat tofu and raw vegetables and, like, whatever people, believe it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, or they think for some reason it's super legalistic. It's like this big, you have to eat by this certain list of rules or something. Something I noticed that recently, I was just telling you about this earlier, it was my birthday recently. And people know what I do for a living. They know I'm, a nutritional therapist and advocate of health. And it was funny to me because a number of people were like, oh, I hope you're going to let yourself eat a piece of cake or have fun and, eat something like that for me. Like, what is that about? Why do we have to equate fun with something that's bad for us and assume that because something we do that's good for us isn't as fun or delicious or awesome?
Right. Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's just one little tiny thought process that I just kind of thought about it, like, that's so interesting that people want me to eat junk food and they think that I'll have fun if I do. So we have these weird hang-ups. We just do, culturally. We have these weird hang-ups where we assume that being healthy sucks and we can't have fun. So, but that said, it really can be fun. Some people are a little sicker than others, and they do have to have a little bit more restriction for a while. But it doesn't have to be that way forever. And you can let your hair down a little bit, and you can make a healthier version of cake, or you could have a glass of organic wine, or maybe that's not such a big deal for some people. But maybe we also can realize some people don't want to feel like crap the next day because it's just what everyone else is doing. So I feel that it does take a commitment to yourself to, number one, make the right choices that you can make, but also not be hard on yourself within that, make the best choices you can as you can and keep doing the best you can. But if you want to have, a cookie, have the cookie and just move on. It's a choice, right? And guess what's going to happen? You're probably going to feel like crap, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I eating cookies, I don't feel so great. So maybe I won't do that next time. Right. And really, it's about learning to live in this world. And so, but I just wish that people would value themselves so much that, when they're out in public, they don't feel like they have to just be like everyone else. And then I wish more people would not put pressure on the people who are trying to be different and stand up for themselves and value themselves and say, I'm actually going to have fun tonight without the alcohol, quite frankly. I'm capable of that. I think that's part of it. We think we can't have fun unless we're drunk or high on sugar.
Yeah, that's a topic for a totally different podcast.
I know,
too,
right? I'm totally.
that
Yeah.
outside pressure that a lot of people have, whether it be from a spouse or a family member or friends or coworkers or whatever. Boy, that can really, be hard on you if you're really committed to trying to heal. It's hard to deal with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely something we can talk about in the future. That's that's another level
Right.
of mindset that you have to get
Sure,
to be able to handle that. So,
right.
so
Definitely.
the three main takeaways for today's episode are really to, one, realize that there's no quick fixes despite what you may see in the media, and it doesn't even have to be like the typical pharmaceutical drug commercials. Like Lydia was saying, it was making me think of when I read through my Yoga Journal magazine. That's mostly natural-based and everything, but there's always advertisements in there for, this new kind of protein powder that's going to change your life, or this specific supplement, or you should be taking this in order to feel better, and that kind of stuff. So it's really, it's everywhere. It's in the alternative health world. It's in the mainstream world, everywhere. So there's no quick fixes. That's not going to say, I'm not saying that you won't see results, that you won't see results fast. Some people see results really fast. So just know that you're not going to pop a pill and instantly be healed. And I think making that realization before you start out is really important.
Right.
Number two, be able to be patient with yourself and recognize that healing comes in layers. So like we mentioned, something may resolve, but another issue may kind of creep up. So you have to just be able to be patient and recognize that. And then lastly, realize that it's a commitment and that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything perfectly. There's not going to be a perfect diet. There's not going to be a perfect routine. You have to make that commitment to yourself, but also be able to give yourself a little bit of flexibility and be graceful with yourself. And that ties into number two with being patient too. So,
and can I say something real quick, because I think that I maybe missed something when it comes to the health coming in layers. For me personally, I see this happen for a lot of people, so I feel like it may be relevant, is that I spent a lot of time studying and researching and gaining knowledge about, okay, well, I know that this is healthy and that's not healthy, but I literally couldn't physically do the thing quite yet. So, for example, I knew about healing my gut. Heal your gut, it's the seat of your immune system, blah, blah, blah. I knew I needed to get gluten out, all these things. It took me months before sometimes I actually did the thing that I intellectually knew and made it my own habit. Does that make sense? So I think a lot of people will hear all the stuff that's healthy. Okay, yeah, I know I shouldn't be doing this and I shouldn't be doing that, and I probably should go gluten-free, and they're just not there. And so know that the more you come into all truth when it comes to health for yourself, like, it becomes not only your intellectual knowledge, but it becomes so ingrained within you that you're like, I'm ready to do this. And I think some people see like where they think they should be, and they don't start somewhere, and they hold themselves back because for some reason they think, well, I got to do all this to get healthy, rather than just say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to, instead of like try to get over there, I'm going to stop eating hydrogenated oil, and I'm going to try to buy better meat, and I'm going to try to cut back on sugar a little bit for my family. I'm just going to make 3 changes, simple changes. It might take a while, but I'm just going to start there. And then maybe in 6 months, you'll be ready to tackle something else, And I think that that's a big hang up for people, is that they hold themselves back because they look at this end goal again. Do you know what I'm saying? So I kind of wanted to bring that up because I hear that all the time, especially with clients. And they feel like this shame and this guilt that they're not doing what they intellectually know that they think they should.
Right.
So just be real gentle with yourself, and don't put a heavy burden on yourself that you're just not ready to bear. Some people literally just need to take one simple step and do it and commit to it and make it their thing. Like, it's just their habit.
Right.
So, and
Yeah.
everyone's going to tackle their health at different speeds. So don't compare yourself to other people. That's
Amen.
another one.
Amen.
Anyway.
Awesome. Well, I think that's actually a good place to wrap up for the day. So, but if the listeners have any questions at all, don't hesitate to let us know. You can go to either one of our sites and send us an email through there. Also, if this information in this podcast resonated with you and you know others that might benefit from the information we shared, please go ahead and share it. We would also love if you could leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher if you're over there listening to it. And if you're on our site or YouTube listening to this podcast, we'll have links down below where you could just click over and leave us a review. And whenever you share our podcast or leave us a review, it really helps us reach more people with our message of health and wellness. So we really appreciate it because we want to be able to help as many people as possible. And then lastly, if you're looking for more information on natural living or health and wellness, or you want some new recipes, make sure you check out our site because we've got you covered there. Thousands of articles probably at this point. You can reach me at my site, deliciousobsessions.com, and then Lydia is over at divinehealthfromtheinsideout.com. And so we are going to go ahead and wrap up. We hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Take care.